This episode is brought to you by Birchall Wickwire Bryson, a full-service law firm in downtown Halifax, home to some of Nova Scotia's most experienced lawyers. We're taking this opportunity to bring attention to Nova Scotia's Land Titles Initiative. It's a provincially funded program aimed at addressing the province's historic failure to grant valid legal title to African Nova Scotian property owners. The lack of clear title granted to early black settlers in the communities of East Preston, North Preston, Cherrybrook, Sunnyvale, and Lincolnville has made it difficult to sell, transfer, or mortgage these properties, even when they've been in the same family for generations. With the initiative, the provincial government is aiming to provide support and funding to affected community members to help them gain clear title to their land. If you're a property owner in one of the affected African Nova Scotian communities and you have a question about land titles or any other legal issues, please call Birchall Wickwire Bryson at 902-423-6361.
What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another Feature Friday episode, and this is the last of 12 episodes. But Trev, is there anything else that might be coming?
We might have a little bonus something for the holidays, give you guys some time to kill while you're chilling with the fam.
A little sprinkle, jingle bells, something going on in the season.
Yes.
But just wanted to first off start by introducing our guest, Ashley Hill. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank
Yes,
you.
my good friend Ashley. We went to junior high together, I think.
Junior high.
Yeah, and I'll
grade
let you introduce yourself.
And before the introduction, we always got to give that little spiel and the shout out to
Yes.
Shift Key Labs for their ongoing collaboration and support. And thanks to them, we have those two $50 e-gift card giveaways every episode.
Yeah, shout out to Shift Key Labs and shout out to DBDLI that produced this book, The ABCs of North Preston. That was words and art by the students from Nelson Wanda. Shout out North Preston
And shout
kids.
out Trev Clothing. Repping the change
Icy today, icy.
Perfect.
So yeah, Ashley, maybe just give us a little spiel about yourself.
Sure. So, my name is Ashley Hill. I am an African Nova Scotian woman. I am the founder and executive director of the Prep Academy, a community-based nonprofit organization that inspires and prepares African Nova Scotian high school students for college, university, and beyond. Above that, I am a wife now.
Okay.
Hey.
What do you-
A sister, a daughter. Very family-oriented and focused individual. I love family, personal stuff, like love reading, love yoga. Super into wellness, super dedicated to wellness and the well-being of students. That's always on the top of my mind. That's just a little bit about me.
So maybe dive into like your early childhood and then like let's go for the timeline.
Oh, sure.
Early.
Early childhood. Let's see. We can take it all the way back. I was born in North Preston, then moved to Cherrybrook, and then grew up in Cole Harbour. So my mother is from North Preston and Cherrybrook. My father is from Digby and East Preston. Some people ask me, like, what's your African Nova Scotian connection? I'm like, well, which community do you want to mention, But grew up in Cole Harbour. I am the oldest sibling. I'm the oldest daughter, only daughter. I have three brothers who are all younger than me. Yeah, we were a close family growing up. I mean, me and my brother, we have 2 days apart from my stepbrother Adrian, 2 years apart from my brother Dom, and then 15 years apart from my brother Xavier. They are my best friends, I would say, for sure. Growing up, I went to Humber Park Elementary, Graham Creighton, where we met Trev in grade 7 when you moved here. Then went to Auburn Drive High School. Growing up, I would say, and I always change the conversation to what I wanted to do, what I wanted to be. I really had no idea what I wanted to do, but I knew I liked helping people. And I always used to say, I don't know, but I want to help people and I want to figure out what that means. And at first I thought social work and counseling and those kind of things. But ended up finding my path one way or the other and helping people in that era. Yeah.
That's really cool. So I'm just thinking about, you said you're the oldest of your siblings. So what about just navigating that? Like you said, you didn't know what you wanted to do. Was there any pressures and stuff that you had, and how were you able to find your path?
So many pressures. As the oldest sibling and the first to do a lot of things and experience a lot of things, you're kind of creating that pathway or, younger siblings naturally just look up to you and watch what you're doing and kind of mimic and mock. So that pressure of doing things right and setting the tone and setting the example, quote unquote. But we all have very different stories and different like experiences, which I think I really value that we all have different experiences, that we're not all the same and we didn't have the exact same pathway. But yeah, a ton of pressure from my parents and just the feeling of the pressure. I'm a first generation university student, so first in my family, both sides of my family, immediate family, to get a higher education.
Oh wow!
Nice.
What university?
I went to Dal.
Okay.
Shout out
I went to
Dal.
Dalhousie
Shout out
University.
Dalhousie.
I graduated in 2013. It wasn't easy for sure. Dal's a big school.
Yeah.
Were we in any same classes at Dal?
Yeah. Do you not remember?
I'm trying to remember.
Law.
University was.
Ashley
We were
heard.
Oh,
me,
yeah.
you, and Devin was sitting in the back.
Devin, yep.
Yeah.
Shout out Devin. He put me on the sushi. Never had sushi in my life until then.
Yeah. He's a dad now.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
oh
a
yeah,
dad.
yeah. He,
Crane operator. Yeah.
He had a kid with someone from one of our classes too.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. Me,
Low.
you, and
Shout out Low.
yeah,
and Devin.
yeah. He's I connected with him not too long ago because he's into crane operation and he's been doing that at West for a while. But wanting to like dedicate more time to his daughter and just trying to figure out and like, the right certifications and stuff to get here. So that's the thing with prep is like people always ask me advice around education, young, old, like if I want to get back into school or if I want to do this, then yeah, just always willing and down to help people and steer people in a right direction.
Yeah. Dalhousie should give us a plug because
Right.
like Dal student.
Dal student.
Dal,
Yeah.
right? Like, come on now.
If you work for Dal and you're seeing this podcast, put a good word in for us.
You know what to do.
You could be our sponsor.
Yeah. I went to Dal, graduated in 2013. Wasn't easy for sure. It's such a big school.
Yeah.
And of course they have specialties for certain things like medical sciences and law in certain things. It's just, I guess, the biggest name and just a name that I heard in high school. So I decided to apply. Yeah.
So you say you got a lot of pressure from your parents. Was that for academics? Were you into sports at all? Like, what was like the pressure you find coming from them?
Yeah. I mean, I used to play sports growing up. I'm laughing because I always used to tell Channing that I used to average 15 points a game growing up.
Is it true or like
It's true. It's true.
Okay,
It's
okay.
true.
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough.
It's true. But I stopped playing basketball in grade 10 and started dancing a lot, which is another passion of mine. But yeah, I would say pressure from my parents, and not pressure like a negative pressure. It's just like they see greatness in me. They want me to do well. You know, they know what doors education can open for you. So it was a healthy pressure of you need to do this, and this is something that you should be doing. And I mean, if you ain't going to school, then you're paying rent. So.
Yeah. There's a word I learned. It's called like eustress, and it's like a positive stress that like allows you to grow and become better. So like that could have been like the stress that they're putting on you, to the pressure or the encouragement to do the best you can. I mean, you probably wanted to make them proud, and then
Of course.
I got the same sentiment of like I wanted to inspire my younger siblings, so that I got to do my best, and I got to let them see me doing my best,
Right.
so that they can be inspired to do the best. Because then if they're not doing their best, you'd be like, bro, come on, I'm doing my best for you guys. Like, what you guys doing?
Right. Yeah, that's very true. I would say it was, that positive, like encouraging pressure.
Yeah.
But pressure nonetheless, that this is, what you need to do. And I think that pressure just comes from wanting to make them proud, being their first child. And then as soon as you say you're accepted, oh my gosh, they were telling everybody and their grandmother, so now they're so excited and telling everybody and being proud of you. Do you know what I mean? Like, and sharing that. So, I'm not sure if they knew that, but that's just, applying pressure in some cases, but good pressure.
Well, so what was
That's important,
what was the experience at Dal for you? Like being African Nova Scotian, being a woman, coming from the community, is like transition from, because I know from my experience is like, I didn't feel like that was for me. I didn't feel like I fit in that place. I didn't feel like my identity was like, this is not, So I didn't feel like, that, what's that word? Imposter syndrome.
Oh, yeah.
I was just like, bro, this is not for me. Like, no one I know is in school. All my friends that went to school after the first year, they dropped out. So it was like, how am I even going to thug it out like this? So what was your experience when it came to
Well, I mean, for me, and we went to, did you go to Cole Harbor?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we went to junior high together. We didn't go to high school together. But a lot of the Black people I hung out with in high school didn't go to post-secondary right away. So it's like you're hanging with these people since you've known from daycare, and you go through everything with them, and then all of a sudden you're on your own.
Yeah.
Or whether or not they went to school, you just took different programs. And so your classes never aligned, or you're in different institutions. And so you're really just like dropped somewhere. Didn't have any help or knowledge transitioning to post-secondary whatsoever.
It's likened to just getting dropped in a new city, like in a new
yeah.
place, because like all the people I'm unfamiliar with,
Culture
all
shock.
like the culture, the way that people speak. Like a lot of people were from Toronto, but it's like white kids that you never really got to interact with before. So you're kind of like, how do I make friends with these people? How do I build a relationship? And then it's you know.
For me, I was scared. I was like, in high school, I was like talkative and loud and, you know, the one to always like have fun. But then when you get to university, I tell my students all the time, like, first year I have my headphones on, no music playing, just so people wouldn't talk to me. like just walking through, like, and you know, that feeling when you're like the new kid on the block. You don't know where you're going, what you should be doing. Everybody looks like they know what they're doing, and they already know what they're working towards. Seems like everyone else around you had a plan, but I didn't really know what my plan was, so I just tried to fake it till I made it. And yeah, I didn't make it my first year, to say the least. Like, it was just a lot of pressure, and yeah, it's just like, you know, a lot of outside factors too. Like, you want to be hanging with your friends now. You want to be doing things. You got a car, you're driving. Like, you have a level of independence, but you're responsible to maintain your schedule and to do things. And things that you go to school 8:30 to 3:30 every day. You come home, then you go back to school the next day. It's like it's on your own time to do these kind of things. So I enrolled in classes, had no idea. Shouldn't have been in some of the classes that I enrolled in. Just didn't. I remember me and my mom going over to campus and sitting with this student advisor or ambassador at help me pick my classes. They didn't know me. They didn't know what I was good at. They didn't ask to see my high school transcript. They didn't, you know, there was like, cool, this is what you could do. So do you want to do it? And I'm like, I guess. I don't know who was going to tell me how to do that, right? So, yeah, I didn't have a good experience in the transition. I registered for 8:30 classes and would, you know, living in Cole Harbor, getting on the 61.
Oh, my goodness. You didn't go to Cole Harbor High, so you didn't go to school early in the morning.
No.
So you weren't used to that.
Yeah.
That's 2-hour bus drive to get
2-hour
to
bus
Dell.
ride, 61 to the 14. You know? Yeah, it was
No joke.
crazy.
Trooper.
But, you know, it was again, that moment of like, okay, I got to keep waking up and doing this. Like, everybody knows that I'm going. My parents told everyone that they were proud of me. Like, you know, that expectation was there for me to do well, because I've never not done well in school. So it's a system that's not designed for Black students. And it's a system designed, you get you there, but then you got to get through. And who helps you with that? So I flunked out of my first year. My grandmother passed away during my final exams as well, so I had to go through the process of like providing a death certificate and rescheduling exams, and it was a mess. It was a mess, honestly. And my head wasn't in the right space. Like, it was. I wanted my freedom, but I had no idea what I wanted to do. It'd be different if I had an opportunity, maybe in high school, to like explore a little bit, figure out what kind of careers and stuff are out there. I remember once I got back into school, I took a class called Environmental Sustainability. Had no idea about recycling, about like anything else that was going on outside of Nova Scotia. And it really opened my eyes to a lot of really cool possibilities. And I think that was a light bulb moment for me 2.5 years into school that was like, okay, like there's actually more out there. And it kind of connected like how things have a ripple effect and how things change and how you as an individual could contribute to change. So that was a really interesting class and mindset to me. And the professor that I had, or the teaching assistant, they were really cool. Like, we went on a field trip and I was like, this is very, very different. That class was very, very unique. And I was like, okay, not everything is the same. And, you know, you have the power to make different changes.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, in uni, you said going on a field trip and stuff as well. So that's
Yeah.
very, very interesting. I'm wondering, so you've spoke a lot to like how you navigate that space and some of like the hardships that you've had. How does that inform the way that you approach prep and mentor the students? And how has your experience helped you approach and give them the resources they need?
Yeah. So I would say when I was going through it, I kind of just had blinders on of like, okay, let me just like try to have a tunnel vision and like, let me just get to graduation. Let me make my parents proud. Like I want to get out of here as quick as possible. And then after graduating, that's when I realized that I was the first in my family to graduate. My grandfather came to my graduation and he was like, do you know that no one's ever done this before? And I was like, I did not know that. Like in high school, you don't think about those kind of things. You're so tunnel vision, or you just see the world, you know, or for me anyway, that was my perspective, not having the opportunity to explore. So after I graduated, what then happened was a lot of community members were coming to me to be like, oh, hey, my child wants to go to university. Like, how was your experience? Could you talk to them? Like, you know, parents trying to reach out. And I was like, this is interesting. And I remember very vividly at my graduation, my dad, you know, you get your high school graduation, you get the list of students who are graduating. My dad ticked off, made an asterisk beside all of the Black people, and then put an X or a check mark whether or not they were going. Because you walk across the stage and they say, Ashley Hill, going to Dalhousie University, doing this at the third. And sometimes you would just get your name called. So he would put a tick mark or an X to determine who's going where. And then it just really hit me like, what are the people doing that I went to high school with? Like, what are they doing? Are they doing anything? Are they working? Why is everybody asking me about my experience? And then I realized, this is a problem.
Yeah.
You know, like I struggled. I shouldn't have struggled. Other people, white peers that I went to high school with, they're out in law school or doing all these amazing things. And I'm like, I have a Bachelor of Arts. So I'm kind of feeling like I only have a Bachelor of Arts degree, you know? Yeah. And I still didn't have a sense of what I wanted to do. I started working at the bank after graduation just to get money and have a job, and found a career, luckily, in Scotiabank, and was there for 8.5 years. But yeah, it was just, I had no idea. And then I started making the connections and connecting the dots around how my experience and other experiences of students that I went to high school with, that access to education, I knew that there was a problem. How am I the first in my family to go to post-secondary education or complete? That's odd to me. That doesn't seem right. So yeah, that's kind of the realization that I had. And then how I apply this to prep is like, there's such value in lived experience and teaching students from your lived experience. Like, I tell students all the time, don't pick an 8:30 class. Unless you live in Halifax on Rory Street, don't pick an 8:30 class. Like, that's something that they would have just done. You know, it's those unwritten rules and tips that you're able to share with students. And that's what our entire team does, is we don't have masters of education yet. We're not teachers yet. We're not principals yet. Yes, we have aspirations, but we have aspirations like change and make a positive impact in our community. And we collectively see the value of education, and we collectively know that there are barriers to our students. So I would say all of our energy and how it translates to prep is 1, through lived experience, and 2, through love. Like, you know, we love our kids. We hold them very near and dear to our heart. They are brilliant individuals, and they just need guidance, like we did. You know, like, who is there to help you? And you think of, you know, being an oldest sibling, it's like people who work at prep are kind of like your older siblings.
I like that.
Of like just helping you through. We're family. We love you. We care about you. We care about your family. We care about your well-being. And yeah, it's cool if you're not feeling school today. It's cool, but you just have to understand how that kind of impacts the overall picture. And so what we try to do is that light bulb moment that I had in environmental sustainability, we try to create those light bulb moments for students in high school so that they can see there's different things that they need to see outside of that little narrow tunnel vision that they're experiencing right now.
I find when we're in high school, we just do what our friends are doing, or we do whatever. And thinking back, I think prep is a needed thing for the Black community, because when I even thought about this podcast and I thought about prep, I thought about like, man, when I was in high school, I never had nothing like that. Like, you got these folks, like you might have one Black like guidance counselor at the school that might not know all the black kids at the school, and then they only have that certain experience, so they can't fill you up or guide you and tell you, oh, you should do this or you should do that if you want to go and become a lawyer or you want to go become a doctor or you want to go become anything. They don't got enough resources to sit there and tell you X, Y, Z, you know?
Right.
And I find like having prep, it gives you the time, the attention for the kid, like the love, because if you listen to a kid and what they want to do, then you're able to help guide them in the right way, you know what I mean? And if, say for example, if you don't know, you're able to plug them into other resources. Like the resources at high school, like them people just there to get their check a lot of the time. So it's like, if you're just there to get the check and I'm just here to learn, what am I going to do once I'm done? Like if no one's pushing me in the right direction. So I find like prep is super needed. And I find like, I remember even when you were first starting out, it's such a beautiful thing because folks need that lived experience and they need that lesson to like, you're young, you're only 22. So it's like, even you could benefit from like mentorship from an older folks so that they could be like, oh, this is what it was like for me when I was going to med school or whatnot.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you're a shy person or you're not out there, then how do you connect with folks like that? How do you know what I mean, get that insight or that advice or that push to stay the course or to continue to build on your education or what have you?
Yeah. It's so important. Like there's such a I mean, it's not a dig. University wasn't designed for black people. High school system wasn't designed for black people. It's not a dig, it's just facts, right? And so we're kind of working within, but like against a system that, don't have limitations on students. I mean, my grandfather grew up in Bear River, was in a segregated school. Like it's not that long ago.
Yeah.
You know, like my uncles and family members were streamlined into trades programs. It's not that long ago. I, in grade 12, was told to take non-academic math. I did it.
We all were.
Streamlined. Do you know what I mean? Like
limitations,
limitations. So, I mean, it's like working within an education system is going to take years to change stuff. But the thing I love about prep is that we can see the change that we're having instantly with students. That real impact is really just what's happening, and it's really beautiful to see.
Yeah.
And you know, when we hire student success coaches and we hire people, specifically student success coaches, because they're the ones on the ground making it happen, working with our kids day in, day out. We're not looking for masters of education or undergrad degree and so many years of experience. It's like, do you have experience transitioning from high school to post-secondary, and did you struggle? Great. Let's have a conversation. You know, like, it's really important.
Yeah, and I like something I really like about prep as well is that collaborative approach. Because like when I think back to like guidance counselors and stuff, it's like you have that one or two people. Like through prep, it's like you have a network of supports and resources as well for the students with different lived experiences.
Yeah.
So like if let's say one of the coaches explain their situation and the other explains theirs, like the student will have multiple people to relate to and to feel comfortable with when accessing like supports and resources. So I just really appreciate that as well with prep because multifaceted approach to
that. The coaches take it upon themselves to do stuff, to be honest. Like we have, there's a lot of students right now in prep that are interested in becoming athletes at the post-secondary level. And so our coaches created everything athletics kind of workshop. And Kazan and Bryson created it last year. And two different coaches, different caseloads in different schools, but like you're able to access a female who has experience in one sport and a male who has experience in another. And then this year we have Bryson, JJ, Trey, and Tyler, who are all like were athletes in different, whether it be basketball, football. Like they're coming around. They went to Truro, now they're at DHS, like delivering information so you're able to access experiences from different people, but all who look like you and all who have some level of community engagement. Like our coaches, students know our coaches. Like they know them from outside of the school, which is important too.
Because they're already familiar with the folks.
Right.
And I find the best way to get through to a kid is to give it to them straight.
Yeah.
Like,
oh my gosh, they're so real. Like the coaches, they don't sugarcoat stuff,
I love
you know? They don't sugarcoat stuff. They're like, you know, this is what you need to hear and I'm going to just be real with you and let you know. But the delivery is important as well because students, you know, don't get great delivery all the time or from a position of love. But the coaches, I think, do a wonderful job at being authentic. Authentic impact is actually one of our values as an organization, and kids will see right through that. They'll read you up and down if you're not being authentic.
Oh,
they will tell you about yourself.
They
will tell you about yourself. They won't believe you, you know. But yeah, they can tell from a mile away if you're not being authentic, which is really important. Yeah.
What does the impact of like prep on the students like mean to you? Like, how does that make you feel to know that you're like inspiring these youth and you're building that space for them?
Oh, so it's beautiful. It's kind of like wearing my heart on my sleeve. It's like, how to describe it without actually crying? I think of when prep started in 2021 and we had our first set of kids. First, anytime I'm out and I see a kid, I'm like, oh, this is my kid. That's my kid. Yeah. You know, like that you are my kid. Like, you know, so that family connection, that speaking to them like that, like they love that. I would say from our first set of kids, even to year over year, we can have an impact within 2 months, we can have an impact in 2 weeks, but to see the year over year impact, and it's funny because in grade 12, they needed us a lot. They had a lot of questions. And now Ty's out here traveling, doing his thing. You know what I mean? Like, Kira's out here on boards. Like, you know, people are in their programs and they're cool and they don't need me as much. So it's kind of like, oh, you know, I miss you.
Yeah. It's literally like sibling parental type relationship that's going on.
Yeah. But it's beautiful to see, like, you know, and, you know, I don't take credit for anything that they're doing. I'm just happy to have some sort of helping hand in their journey. Because I strongly believe that they would have done that regardless. But it's like we were able to help them navigate that so they didn't struggle, you know, so they didn't miss out on opportunities, that they're being made aware of opportunities. Like our mom went to Latvia last summer. What? Like crazy, you know? But yeah, it's beautiful to see the impact year over year. Our coaches will say, like, when your grade 12 kids graduate high school, it's like, it's like separation anxiety.
It is.
like, oh my gosh, my kids are gone, you know? But it's beautiful. And I was talking to a coach today, and the role of a coach is to help, in their job description, navigate students through their post-secondary education, answer all the questions, scholarships, all that kind of stuff. But kids come to us and they haven't eaten. Kids come to us and they are like, man, this teacher is driving me crazy right now. Or man, like, you know, we're so much more than a coach. That mentorship is so important. And I try to tell our coaches all the time, like, I hope you know how valuable you are to those students in those moments. Yeah. Having someone students can rely on, it's crazy. You know, all those different things, especially you guys remember in high school, like if you broke up with somebody, it was the end of the world. You know what I mean? Like if you stopped talking to someone and they started talking to somebody else next week, like your world, it come crashing down. Like that is real. And you know, when we were in the schools, we're laughing about the kids because, you know, I'm like, are you supposed to be in class? Or I was skipping class in high school. You know what I mean? Like you just gotta put yourself in their shoes. And I think the one thing everyone says about prep, like you just said, is I wish I had this when I was in school. So I'm just excited to see what the future of prep looks like, I would say, even in the next like 7 years. When all these kids are graduated from higher education and they're all working for our partners and folks in networks and they're doing really great things, I just, for them to be able to say like, oh yeah, Prep Academy helped me. I wouldn't have done this way if it wasn't for prep. Or prep played a huge role in support for me.
I think what you're building too is a big community of like alumni from prep that are gonna be able to be connected and build on that. From my perspective, is like day and night. Without prep, a lot of people might slip through the cracks. But with prep, I feel like I'm looking back and I'm saying like I feel like we're getting to this age where we're like, oh, if we would have had that, like we would have had a better chance. But it's like we're kind of, I'm becoming like an old folk now to where like, oh, when I was a kid, we didn't have that. You guys, you know what I mean? You guys all got these opportunities, and then some people still won't take advantage of prep, but it's good that it's there because they didn't have that before. And then like there's some other stuff that I'm seeing in the high schools too, where they got the black cohorts, the Afrocentric cohorts,
the Afrocentric math cohorts, like, we Black
never,
English,
like that stuff. I'm just like, damn, like they're really. like it's really giving it, or it's really allowing for like opportunity to like for us to take advantage of and become something before you're just going to school. You get to school and then it's just like you hit the block or you hit the streets or you hit whatever you hit, but you ain't hitting the books.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that we're praising academia and like giving kids the opportunity to go to school. For me, my perspective on school is like, you can learn all the stuff outside of school, but the value is connecting with the people, like building the confidence within, and then building a network of people. Like all these people that I went to university with that I would have never, like if I didn't go to university, they wouldn't be my friends. So like I got people in New York, people in all these different places that are giving me game, giving me advice, giving me information that I wouldn't have because their parents are either a doctor or whatever, and they're able to give me a different perspective.
Right, but you just hit something that's really important, and I don't want people to think like prep funnels kids to community college, apprenticeship, and post-secondary. It's like, it's about lifelong learning. Like regardless, that's the one thing we start off of. It's like regardless of what you do after high school, you're going to need to learn how to do it. You're running a business, if you want to run a podcast, you know what I mean? Like you don't need years of education to do that. You could learn to you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Perfect your craft. You know, if there's a student who graduate in grade 12 right now and they're like, I want to start a podcast, great. Talk about the programs that NSCC has to offer. Talk about the programs, get job shadowing opportunities, learn about all this kind of stuff. But there's a lot of different learning that can happen. It's just about using the right platforms. I tell kids all the time, use ChatGPT, use YouTube, use TikTok, but use it for your advantage. Don't plagiarize, but like learn, you know, figure out how you learn.
And I think it's like having a expert guidance counselor outside of high school that's gonna actually have a bunch of different experience because you're dealing with a bunch of different kids, and then you're also able to like give them not just like, oh, go to university or oh, go here. It's more so like what you're saying is go and do what you love and what you want to do, and we're here to prep you to get to there. You know what I mean? We're like the buffer zone, like high school, us. Then wherever you go.
And
ongoing. So it's not just like university folks. It's just they come wherever they want to go. You guys can plug them in.
Yeah, we've had students, like we have 5 students in the TYP program this year. The thing about prep too is like once you graduate
shout out TYP.
Shout out
I went through TYP. If it was not for TYP, I wouldn't be here right now. I'd be in the street somewhere. And I ain't lying.
Shout out TYP, honestly. And a lot of students, like, you know, it's a viable option. A lot of students demystify transition year program. Demystify that you don't need that. It's a super powerful program. Doctors, lawyers, like medical professionals, like you just need that extra time. The thing about high school and university is you're treated as a child in high school, and then within 2 months, from June graduation prom to September 1st, you're expected to be an adult. That's a 2-month transition, and kids ain't doing nothing through the summer, you know? But yeah, shout out to TYP program. I lost track of what I was going to say. But
shout out Rocky Jones, that was one of the folks that spearheaded making that happen.
Yes.
Because if not for folks that are on the ground doing the work and making these programs exist, like people like me wouldn't be here able to podcast and talk to you guys with some lived experience and with some academic experience behind me, because without that, I wouldn't have went to university, because the literal only reason why I went to university, because one of my older cousins went through TYP. And I'm just like, man, he ain't that smart. Like, I can do that too. So then I'm just like, okay, let me go do it. And then from there, it was like, oh, shoot, like we can be in these spaces, we can learn. I mean, it took me probably 2-3 years to actually feel like I belonged. But then once I did, it was like, oh, shoot, like anyone can do it if I can do it, but also it's just doing the work. You know what I mean? Like some people, obviously, you got barriers or whatnot, but like if you do the work, if you buckle down and do the work, then it could happen.
Yeah, for sure. We try to remove a lot of barriers at prep, like we waive application fees, we waive seat confirmation fees, we help students provide school supplies, we have like laptop loan programs, like iPads, like whatever students need to feel good going on campus. Because if you don't have a fresh haircut, you don't have fresh braids, you don't have fresh kicks, like, you know, you're going to feel less than. So we want to try to take all the pressure off of students of supplying them with that full package. They can feel good going on campus and feel confident about themselves. Yeah.
I like that.
Those things are definitely important, like bringing your full self to the academic space and stuff. I've had conversations as well about like food security and stuff, making sure you got the meal, making sure you you feel good, look good, perform good. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that prep's doing that work around it. It almost reminds me of like, like social determinant of health, where it's like a bunch of other factors that influence your health outcomes. I feel like there's a bunch of other factors that influence your education outcomes and your career outcomes as well. So it's good.
You can
And mental health and wellness is one of them. Our
Yeah.
team just did a mental health first aid training on Friday. And like we spent a lot of time talking about what our students are experiencing. And there are so many things that are out of our control. And it's hard when you can see the potential in a student and you can see how bright their future is, but they don't see that yet.
Yeah.
That's the hard part of prep as well. But just being there every day, and again, saying to the coaches, like, the reliability that the students know that they can come into your office and grab a juice box and grab a snack and then fuel their day and then come back and talk about what's going on and talk about college, university, talk about their future, and have that positive reinforcement and somebody believing in them every day. It's really impactful.
Yeah, I think positive reinforcement is crucial because I always, with whatever kid I meet, I always try to take the opportunity to like guide them in the right direction. Wherever, when you ask them certain questions or they're going through something certain, you can be that person. You're not lying to them if you're being positive and you're trying to frame it in a positive place.
Right.
You're putting them on the right track to where they could see it in a way of like, I don't know what an example could be, but it's like, I always just try to take the opportunity to guide in the right direction. And I think it's important to see the positivity, because if you look at the negativity, if you look at like, oh, I'm black and I shouldn't be here, or, oh, I'm this and this, it's like, if you listen to the doom and gloom, then you'll continue to create that. You know what I mean? So if you create the positive, if you know what I mean? Like there's some random stuff where like, people don't speak to you at Dow. Like you could walk past 10 people and say hi to them and no one's speaking to you. Then your mind could be like, oh, is it because I'm black or is it because, you know what I mean? But it's figuring out like, everyone else in their own head. You got to figure out you got to look at the brightest side that you can look at. For me, that's what worked for me.
Right. Right.
Yep.
Yeah, that's so important. Mental well-being and mental health and having a positive frame of mind can be hard when you're talking to a 16-year-old, trying to get them to see, but it's beautiful when they realize it.
Yeah.
When they are like, I can do this, when they speak positively about themselves. We have, like last year we gave out agendas and we were, had quotes by month. And it's like one of the quotes said, speak highly of yourself because what you speak, is put into existence. Get used to speaking highly about yourself. And that's one thing students struggle with when writing scholarship essays, and they're like, what's your biggest strength? And they're like, I don't, you got to have to like pull that stuff out of kids and make them realize that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I find it's part of the creation of who we are. Like, as you go back, like, if you think about when you just started university.
Hey, wow, that's
but like, when you think
young,
back,
young.
it's like.
Yeah, she called us elders earlier.
Yeah.
I said elders. That's
elders,
crazy.
Joe said I'm getting old. I said elder.
So it's like when I think back to my early university days, it's like you're finding you're creating who you are. So you don't really got this resume or this template of like confidence to draw from. But now when I look back, it's just like, if I think about all the positive things I did, it's like, I did that. And for the young people, it's good to like get to know them so that you can encourage what they are doing now, so that you can inform them like, hey, you actually are good at this and you're good at that. And then that builds that confidence so that when they do get to where they're going, they're good. Like every kid tells me like, oh, I'm no good at math. I'm like, bruh, the reason why you're no good at math because you never practice math. I'm no good at ball because I don't play ball. But if I played ball for hours on hours, I'm gonna be good. If I practice math on hours, I'm gonna be good. So whatever you practice at and whatever you put the skill set in, and to go back to ChatGPT can make you good at anything. You could tell ChatGPT, I got a 3 grade math skill. Can you help me get my skill to like a grade 6 or grade 9? And it can help. It can literally give you a template of how you can get better. And it baffles me that like people ain't taking advantage of ChatGPT as their personal like self-development guru that can basically tell you, oh, this is what you got to do to get to the next level.
Right.
You can input, hey, prompt, this is where I'm at right now. This is all the things I'm into. How can I get to the best version of myself? And it literally can paint you a picture of like how you can get there.
I do that today.
Yep.
Yeah. How to manage an executive director's schedule.
Yeah.
When should you meet frequently with your staff? Like how to best manage and optimize your week. Like as just all that kind of stuff. And I talked to students the other day in a workshop, and I was like, use ChatGPT to your advantage, not to write your essay, but like how to structure a scholarship essay. Number one.
Yeah.
Great. How to highlight your skills in a scholarship essay, you know? Just different things that'll help you prompt and use some writing prompts to then put it in your own words. You can find anything on the internet.
I think it's a
Anything on
superpower.
TikTok.
Like ChatGPT is a superpower for the young people because they literally, it's how I look at it is like you got the calculator for math, you got the ChatGPT for life, and it's a tool to use.
life.
You don't let the tool use you. You use the tool, and you don't want
Right.
to become dependent on it. Like you
Exactly.
don't want to be like, oh, I got to write all my emails through ChatGPT. It's like because then if ChatGPT crashes, it's like shit. Fuck, who am I without ChatGPT?
Right.
You know. So that's the thing of like use it as a tool. Don't let the
Learn.
tool use you.
Yeah.
And I always recommend like people that are super against ChatGPT. I'm like, bruh. 99% of people are going to be using it, and if you're the 1%, you're going to be behind because
Right.
you're basically driving a hoopty and they driving a Lamborghini, and they zooming past you, and
Right.
you think like you're, oh yeah, I'm good because I'm doing the
Mileage
real
down.
way, but it's like, bro, you know, I think everyone's gonna eventually get on board, but it's also shout out to the people because I can't even hate on the people that don't want to use it because you are working harder and you are, you know what I mean? It's just I would not recommend this. And because ChatGPT to me is not a shortcut because
No.
if you're not competent, ChatGPT, unless you utilize it to become competent, is not going to make you competent using it.
It's research.
Yeah.
Use it as a research tool. We use research in school. You need to write papers. You need to research things. You need to figure out how to learn how to do something. I'm still learning. You need to write a business plan.
Yeah.
How to write a business plan for a nonprofit. What's the structure? What kind of things? Like do some research, write down your notes, and then move forward. But use it as a tool for research and to help you learn.
Yeah.
And the thing, you know, you just talked about like social media and what kids are seeing and driving a hoopty. And I think that the one thing that I hear a lot from students is I'm done school. I've been in school for 13 years now. I'm ready to start living my life, and I'm ready to get out there and start making some money, get my own apartment, all that kind of stuff. And it's hard because when we were growing up, I can't forget you're 22. When we were growing up, we didn't have social media like that. We had MSN, but we never had pictures to see. We all had magazines, and then you had to buy those magazines. You know what I mean? But you could never actually look and see what this person is doing. Like my brother was telling me, Kai, this YouTuber, it's like YouTubing for 28 days straight. You can see him doing everything. But it's like, of course, someone looking at that wants that too. They want the mansion. They want to know all those famous people. They want to be in their position. But he learned how to do something. He started out somewhere doing something and then learned how to develop himself to where he is. It's all about learning at the end of the day.
I find a lot of in an instant gratification society, like even for us, like it's not just the young people that want it. It's even when our generation, we wanted it, but people don't realize, I read it somewhere, I can't remember, but it's like when you're 20, you look at some people and you're like, oh, I want to get it how they got it or whatever. But it's like people don't really get money or build like significance in their pocket, like money wise, until they're in their 30s and 40s. But you think because you see one or two people doing it, you think that is everyone's doing it, but it's not everyone doing it. It's not like this super fast thing that happens overnight. It's a small percentage of people that get wealthy in their 20s.
Yeah.
It's you reach your prime when you're in your late 30s, early 40s. Not saying don't pursue that. I'm just saying don't try to rush it and take shortcuts because you're not going to be able to make it to, oh, I'm a millionaire when I'm 40. If you have a plan structured of like, okay, this is how I'm going to become a millionaire, or this is how, if you want to become a millionaire, then you can make it, but don't rush and try to like take these certain risks to try to get rich when you're in your 20s because I don't even know anyone that when we were in our 20s that was a millionaire. I knew people with maybe a couple 100,000, but like it ain't easy like that. You can't go to university and be rich while you're in university unless you are in university. You start a business on the side that like exponentially grows, but then that's a small percentage of people that do that.
Yeah.
Because I've heard of people doing that in university. They're like, there's a guy I met, I think he's like 27. The man got a Lamborghini. It lives in this city. He started a business, dropped out of university, and like after his third year, I'm just like, he told me the story. I'm like, bruh. And I'm just like, but you have a dream, you have an idea. And his dream probably wasn't to just make a bunch of money quick. He solved a problem in society.
Right.
And then that's what enabled him to get the money.
Yes.
So like he had seen a problem. He had started a business that solved the problem. Now he got money.
Yeah.
If you do that, that's one of the easiest ways to get up there.
They say you'll never work a day in your life if you love what you do. And I think one of the easiest ways to do something that you, to never feel like you're working a day in your life is to do something you love and to find that what is that struggle or what is that problem you want to fix. And, you know, there is a gap and he created a company out of a gap. I created a company out of a gap. Sometimes there's already a company out there that you could be doing it better than. You know, I was watching this talk from the CEO of Gymshark the other day, and he was like, he was talking to a class, and he was like, "What's your advice around like starting a company?" And he was like, "Just start it. Like, don't wait. Just start your company." And I remember before I launched Prep, I was listening to Ross Simmons on his podcast. And when he was talking about distribution of content, he was like, don't hold on to your stuff. Just put it out there, see what it does. Yeah. So I was holding on to this idea for Prep for so many years to be like, what are people going to think? Like, how am I going to do it? You don't actually really know unless you put yourself out there and try it, fail, do it again, you know? And the CEO of Gymshark said I think that was his 5th company he started. Yeah. And then Gymshark, crazy.
Yeah, because you learn as you go. Like they say, fail fast. If the faster you fail, the quicker you can win. Because even for me, like I've did so many different things. I had a limo business. I did all kinds of different things, and then all those experiences add value to me running Trev Clothing. So it's like whatever you want to do, don't look at it like, oh, I'm a failure. It's like, okay, start the business, try it out. All that is like a snowball effect to your lived experience. It goes back to your lived experience as an entrepreneur. And some people, entrepreneurship ain't for them, but you figure out what you're missing or what you're lacking for the last business. Okay, why did this fail? Okay, boom. Okay, I'm passionate about this. But then sometimes people tell you to like, say you like to make pies. Say you love making pies. And then your friends are like, oh, you should make it into a business. But then you make it into a business, then you're not even passionate about it anymore. Right. So sometimes you have to keep your hobbies and your passions, and then build your business as your business, because there's a few stories that I read that it just wrecks people's lives where they're just trying to pursue their hobby, make it a business, and then they don't even like the hobby no more. Yeah. So it's like, you don't want to wreck what you love. Yep. But I mean, if you love to write, then you create some books, or what you could do, this is just some entrepreneurial advice. If you love to write books, find somebody that can publish them for you and do all the business side of things. Then you maybe partner with them to where they do that stuff and you just do what you love. Right. And I think that's one of the major things is like doing what you love, but then also plugging in other folks. So it's not like, oh, me, 100% me. Right. It's, no, partner with other people so that you can get your dreams out there and you could do what you love in that aspect of the business. While like there could be stuff that you don't like to do as part of Prep, but you hire other folks that are experts and that are passionate about it. Yep. So then it's easy to make that happen, right?
Very true. Yeah, very, very true.
My next question is kind of like, it's a deep question. It's kind of going back to some of the points of like, I know, prepare. But like, dealing with students and knowing your journey of like, let's say being a student, navigating the education space and then doing this initiative with Prep, like, do you see yourself within those students? Do you kind of like reflect on your days and see that within the student and like inspire you? Like what is that moment like?
Oh, 1,000%. Yeah. There are, I would say, I could arguably say like everyone on our team would also say this, like they see themselves in some of our kids, in the majority of our students. And it is just like, I would say tear jerking, but like such a sense of fulfillment and gratitude when that student values what you're contributing to them. There's a lot of students that get into Prep, they don't necessarily see the value in Prep and in the workshops until they're like, now in grade 12, fitting to apply to school, or like they've graduated from high school and they're like, oh man, I should have came to that one workshop. But yeah, it's a beautiful thing. It's very, very rewarding. And I was also talking to someone about this today, a coach on our team, and was like, I created Prep, but I don't get to see the kids every day. Yeah, that's something that I didn't really realize when I was creating the company around like what I would do. But like the executive director, you don't go in the school every day. Yeah. You have people on the team who do that and deliver that content for you, or for the students, for the company. So I definitely miss seeing the kids every day and being around them. But it's cool. Like, I like solving problems. That's one thing I was known for during my time at Scotiabank, is like, cool, you got a problem, let me figure out how I can fix this. Like, let me think about the best way and how it impacts other people and like the best solution that would make everybody happy. We love fixing problems for students. So if their student is in a program right now and they're thinking about switching to another school and they're like, can I hold this scholarship on hold, or how can I do this? And they're trying to navigate all these things. It's like, great, let me help you. Let me figure out a couple of options with you and for you that's designed specifically and tailored to your needs. It's, I guess every day it just brings us back to, I wish we had this in high school. And that's what drives us every day to wake up and be in these schools and work with these kids. And it's tiring. It's very rewarding. Sometimes you bang our heads against the wall, because, you see not everyone approaches Black students with love. Yeah. And that's real. Yeah. There are systems and policies and processes that just don't make sense. And while we aren't fixing those or contributing to those yet, we're trying our hardest to make sure students understand them, but know how to work through and around and step over them. We don't try to hide it from them. They know they exist. And that's something that I didn't know in high school. It's beautiful to see. And, we're just so proud of our kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every time I see our kids, I just stopping at the mall, I'll see one at the mall and I'll be driving by and I'm like, hey, miss you. Can't wait to see you. Text me.
it.
Yeah. They're just brilliant.
So in starting prep and building this company, what were some of the barriers along the way in terms of when you very first started to now? Maybe touch on some of the things that were in the way.
Yeah.
And how you got through them.
Yeah. So I think the first thing I did was I remember creating business cards that said educational consultant with my personal phone number on them. I ordered them from Vistaprint or something. They had flowers and stuff on them. And I was like, okay, how can I as one person help, how am I going to help hundreds of kids? What does that realistically look like? Then I started to do a lot of research around what the guidance counselors and school counselors' roles are, printed off their job descriptions. I looked at support worker job descriptions, Schools Plus job descriptions, and really was like, okay, cool. There's reading in between the lines, there's nothing here that says post-secondary preparation or getting students ready for that. So it was an easy way to identify the gap. And then creating the company, sleepless nights. Channing will tell you, and he says how exciting and proud he is because he saw prep as an idea on paper in a laptop, an HP laptop, with words and all these kind of things. But, I really just looked around. I don't think that I had a lot of struggles launching the company and getting the company and coordinating the organization and writing our charitable purposes, all that kind of stuff came really natural. I would say the challenging part is getting buy-in from people to support our organization in terms of funding. Why do Black students need the support? It's I have to sit here and tell you, and that those are, it takes a component of teaching and takes a component of doing research and getting verbatims and getting data and sharing what that data is. And there's data that should exist that does not exist. Getting the buy-in, but we're really fortunate that that's only been a hurdle a couple of times. And a lot of people are like, wow, I can't, this is such a cool program. This is such a unique model. We've been very fortunate that we haven't had a lot of challenges, I would say, in starting the company. But from start to scratch, as, a couple people have called me an entrepreneur. It took me a while to see myself as one. I think we were also in the same meeting when I was like, yeah, I am an entrepreneur. That's weird. But it's doing the research, finding the gap, figuring out the problem, and figuring out who you need in your corner. And there's a little startup money that I had to invest my own self into legal fees and all that kind of stuff to solidify the organization, get the bylaws. But I remember my friend Aaron Downey telling me one time during our conversations, he was like, if you could pick your top 5, your starting 5, who would that be? Right? And I had to sit there and I was like, when I was picking the board or asking people to be on the board, I was like, who would the top 5 be?
Yeah.
Who are the top 5 individuals as a nonprofit board do you really need? Creating your board, fund development, business strategy, school access, finance, you got to build your team who's going to help you operationalize this company. Prep's board is very much hands in. They are doing things and helping build. Then it was you need to write people on your team. And it's about passion and purpose. Who believes in what you're doing, and what type of positions and roles? What are some other great successful nonprofit organizations? Look at their About Us section. Look at their team. What are the names of their jobs that they have that keep things moving? We're still in growing phases, though. Like we're turned 4 in September. But one thing we are doing is hiring a lot of our students and a lot of African Nova Scotian students. Finance, not my favorite thing to do. I'll be honest. I worked in a bank, don't like finance that much. It's just like, I don't, it's not that I don't like it. I love program creation. I love other things. And so we hired a finance and operations intern.
The one that I met at the Tribe Summit.
Ainsley. Ainsley, shout out to Ainsley Byers. He is doing his finance degree at St. Mary's University. We're hiring our first fund development intern in January. We're hiring 2 marketing interns with us in January. And it's like, tap into those funding opportunities.
I love this too,
because you're not just creating a thing to put the people to school or put the people to opportunities. You're also
it's full circle.
Yeah.
It's full circle. They come back and volunteer.
And it's while they're like students as well, just emphasizing that, like you said, that Ainsley, like that opportunity, currently studying finance and also doing the financial operations.
Oh,
so
yeah.
That's really
He's
cool.
learning a ton.
Yeah.
With the guidance of me and our treasurer. I mean, I know finance. It's not that I just don't like to do it. But with the guidance of our treasurer, with the guidance of me, cash flow projections, cash flow statements, like he's literally on the ground doing finance every day for us. Yeah. And then we pour into our interns just as much as we pour into our prep students, so they get job shadowing opportunities, connections. So Ainsley was out job shadowing today, came back, did a half a day of finance work. Like that's really important.
That's dope.
That is.
Yeah.
But could you also just speak to, I feel like you speak a lot to like sustainability with regards to prep, with the impact on students and just the program and initiative in general. Could you speak more to like that and what that means to you and what that looks like?
Yeah. So I tell myself all the time, I don't have all the answers. I had the idea. Collectively, we're doing the work together. When we develop our strategic plan, when we develop policies, like staff input is required. Yeah. I don't have all the answers. We're building this together. So they have a sense of ownership over that kind of stuff. And I talk about that I'm not going to be at Prep Academy forever either. It's important to pass the torch. It's important to build up the people you're working with and build up the students and the community you're working with to, I'm not going to be at Prep Academy forever. I love what I'm doing. Don't get me wrong. I love what we're building. It's beautiful. Yeah. But there's going to be another problem in education that I want to tackle eventually. There's lots of work to be done at post-secondary institutions.
100%.
There's lots of work to be done. And I think once prep is sustainable and once we're moving and grooving and we, there's no timeline. I'm not putting a timeline, but I'm not going to be at Prep Academy forever. Yeah. And it's important that our staff know that there are opportunities to move throughout Prep Academy. Yeah.
CEO.
And or if you use Prep Academy as a stepping stone. I tell staff that all the time. I don't want to hold people for 8 years in the same role. You get stale.
Because I meet a lot of your staff, like out in the world. I'm like a black person that I never met before. I'm like, oh, and they're like, oh, I work at Prep. I'm like, oh, you work at Prep? I was like, oh, like, you know what I mean? Because I know Prep, and now let me get to know you, if I don't know you. But it's, I think that's super dope to give opportunity. Like, I mean, we're at an age where, like,
exclusion is crazy.
But you're in the age where, like, folks are getting in job opportunities to get the skills so that they can level up and they can get the next opportunity because, you're getting X amount of dollars. You go for prep, work at Prep for a little bit, get that on your resume, then it's like apply for this other place, Yeah. And they say don't quit your job until you get another one. or don't, you know what I mean? But that it's like if you come with that intention of like, hey, I'm applying for your work. I want to come get some skills. My commitment might be 2 years or a year. I want to come work with you guys, showcase my skills, and learn some skills from you guys. I feel like that's an important thing to have versus like you being like, oh, if you ain't working for us forever, then you ain't working for us for now.
Yeah. No, and it's the same. Like if we don't have the same motto and the same mentality of what we're pouring into our students, of what we're doing for our staff, then what are we really doing? It's really important to me. And we're still new and we're still developing these ways, but it's important to me that if a student success coach wants to become a manager, wants to become, the CEO and, wants to do all these things or wants to do this and then go work at a university, like we're fueling them because at the end of the day, it's all about the kids.
100%. And I think that like from what you're building, I think like 4 years in, you said? It could
We'll be 4 in September.
4 years. So only 4 years, and you already built such a big brand, such a like big presence in the space of like helping youth. And I feel like you only 4 years in, imagine 6 more, imagine 10 more. You know what I mean? Like when I think about like Trev Clothing, everyone's like, oh, Trev is everywhere. But it's like, even for me, like I see prep everywhere. So it's like, it's important, I think, to like be proud of what you built and also like continue to push and continue to build, and don't be discouraged by like what other folks might be like, but also think about the 10 years and the 20 years. And I mean, maybe you might not be in it 20 years later, but like, what is it going to look like? What's prep going to look like when you aren't there? You know what I mean? And how does that even look like when, like, if you started the organization, if you say, okay, someone else is going to take over your position, what type of control does someone have? Like, how does that work?
I don't have any control once I leave.
Damn.
I founded it. I will probably, like, hopefully they put my name on a wall with a plaque or something.
You trust in it, though. I feel like it's the biggest thing too.
Yeah,
That's like you trust in what the foundations you're building now to keep it going. And sorry, a question on that as well. Speaking of like the years to go by, you mentioned like 5 to 7 years. You can't wait to see where Prep's direction is. Do you have an idea of where you want Prep's direction to be?
Yeah.
And it can change. I just want to emphasize, sometimes we say things and that could go completely different and still be great. But what do you think of right now?
I know. Well, there's about 6,500 students of African descent across the province. They don't actually track African Nova Scotian versus African descent, so that's just
a whole other conversation.
Like some little bit of people.
Yeah.
We're only serving about 151 of that 6,500 right now. So 6,500.
Yeah.
Community spaces. Like I see a prep hub in Truro, a prep hub in Digby, a prep hub in Cape Breton, a prep hub. You know what I mean? Like places where students can go that are cool, that they want to feel a sense of belonging. I feel like my staff would say a prep school. Because our program is a personal development credit, so students get a high school credit.
Yeah, I like that.
I know what my staff would say a prep school. I would see to those full circle moments, like, yes, we're hiring our students, but the students who have gone on and are in their past post-secondary and their careers, they're either working for Prep Academy, are mentors for Prep Academy, donating to Prep Academy. Like they're still involved. Like it's like not you leave. Like our motto is once you're a prep student, you're always a prep student.
I like it. That goes back to you building a community. You're building a community, and I think over time, whatever you build, those folks are going to come back. They're going to come pay it forward. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Have I got a curious question about? Have you dealt with any students that were homeschooled? Have you ever had any of that experience?
We've had a couple of students who were homeschooled maybe up until grade 10 and then they come to school, but all of the students that we serve are in public schools.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there opportunity to do like private or homeschool
Private
type of
schools
stuff?
are asking too because they don't have supports there for black students.
Black students, yeah, I think that is.
But I would say private schools are prep schools. Like the schools that are here, they're
prepping them
prep
students
schools.
properly.
Yep.
They could certainly use cultural supports. But yeah, I mean, the opportunities are endless. Like, yes, my goal is, province-wide, but could we patent and license our programming in our curriculum and be helping students in Chicago and helping students in Toronto, Like, yeah,
I think
how
that's a
far
dope idea.
how far can our reach
Don't
go?
give them all your ideas.
Yeah.
And speaking of reach, one thing I also really like about prep is like, and I feel like it also speaks to like your background, the communities you're connected to as well, but like also reaching like rural African Nova Scotian communities as well and involving them in the program, just maybe speaking to that, because a lot of times for myself in Central Zone, we focus on the Central students, but yeah, what has that been like to make things accessible to other students to access your
Super
sources?
important.
Yeah.
And something that was at the forefront of our minds when starting Prep Academy and doing our first little bit of stuff in 2021 was like, yeah, it's a pilot program and we're in schools in HRM because I live in HRM and that's where our first hires were. But there's always been kind of like, oh, the city kids get everything. And what about us outside of Halifax or Nova Scotia?
Yeah, when I spoke at your event, there was kids from all over.
So Prep Academy, we have 5 high schools right now, 3 in HRM, Cole Harbour, Citadel, Dartmouth High. We're at Cobequid Education Center, shout out CEC. We're at Digby Regional High School as well. And so regional representation is, and having a presence in rural Nova Scotia is, sometimes even more important because there's far and few Black people in positions of positive influence. Yeah. And we have worked with students in Truro and Digby that have stepped their first foot on a post-secondary campus because of Prep Academy. Wow. They've never been on campus before. They've never had a Black mentor talk to them about post-secondary before, and then the majority of our students are first generation, and that changes through historical context the further you go outside of Nova Scotia.
And I find it's hard for us to think because we're all city slickers. And even though I'm from up home, it's like you're still in the city where you're connected to a bunch of Black people. Those folks that are, because I've went to schools with Andreas, and it's like you got a couple kids, and it's like they probably don't got that much of like ancestral roots to be able to, you know what I mean? Support them. So I think that is super important because it gives them the mentorship. It gives them like, hey, this is what we're doing in town, Come to Dow, come to, you know what I mean, university and get plugged in. Because I don't want those folks to fall through the cracks. Because like that's what a lot of it might happen.
Yeah. They're often left out of the conversation. And, when we do tours like at Dow or I think a lot of the post-secondary institutions are on track with that, like Dow Day and the Black Excellence Day at St. FX. Like they had kids coming from Truro, coming from Digby to St. FX. Like, it's important to have that reach. Visibility breeds possibility, and you can't be what you can't see. So rural presence is extremely important. And to your point of like, sometimes in rural schools, there's only 3 Black students in the entire population. I mean, how, you're not celebrating your culture.
Identity.
An identity piece.
And they probably ain't learning about nothing. Oh, Black History Month, God, now we got to learn something. That's crazy.
Something really cool too at one of the events that I attended with Prep. Oh my goodness, it was the most beautiful moment. Will we keep this on? I'm not sure because I don't want to like put people on the spot, but it was so it was so cute. So one of the students, they came up and they came from I think like a more rural community. Yeah. And we were just speaking about being African Nova Scotian and the connections, and I'm like, wait, what's your last name? And they were like, oh, like they said a I don't want to put the names out there. They said a common African Nova Scotian last name, and I was like, no way. I was like, we might be related. And then I called my dad, and then he's like, yeah, like y'all are related. And the joy on her face to see that connection and stuff. So I was like, yo, what's up, cuz? Like I was putting that in, but just seeing that from those students also, like you said, that sometimes could be left out or excluded or in communities where they might not see representation.
That's right.
I think like that moment was just really just a reflection on it. I was like, wow, like it's beautiful.
Yeah. And to add to that, I find even when we're younger coming up, when we meet someone that's of influence that's related to us that we might not have known, it's a pride thing. Like we're proud. Like we might not know them from a hole in the wall. Like, but then, oh, this person is significant. Like this, like think about Lindell. He's in the NBA. He played in the NBA. So it's like, oh, he's my relative. Like that means like I can do that. You know what I mean? That's my bloodline, I think a lot of kids see that in themselves. Like even my godson, like he finds out he's related to all these random people and he's just so proud to say, you know what I mean? And they don't even got to be people of influence or significance. It's just, I'm happy to be related. I'm happy to have community,
Yeah, that's so important. And sometimes in rural Nova Scotia, and I can't speak to that perspective because I didn't grow up in rural Nova Scotia, but sometimes you can only see what's, we have students who've never left their communities before. I've never been on those types of trips.
Trust me, there's people from up home that never really went in town. So it's like, we got it from our own perspective, but it's also like putting yourself in them other kids' shoes and like, what are their needs? What do they want? And there's obviously no organization that's specifically for them or trying to figure out their needs. So I think it's important to be able to tap into that.
Yeah, we have to figure out as Prep how we're, our board member, Sasha, always says this to you, is you got to figure out how Prep can reach those students at that one high school. There's only 5 students. Like, how do you reach those kids? And does that support look the same? Is it virtual support? Do they have Wi-Fi, reliable Wi-Fi? Like sometimes you're on dirt roads, connecting in those rural communities. So
and ain't no one getting mail right now.
No one getting mail.
Don't shout them out. Tell them like, bro, why you got doing this to us? Like, come on now.
Yo, y'all gotta release that reel before the episode releases just to get that Canada Post
in
type
order. Like
so
Canada Post, I cannot ship my parcels people in rural areas are not getting mail. People in the city ain't getting mail. Like, I never even checked my mailbox for like a week and a half because there's no point.
You know what? I teach, use this as a learning opportunity for students to put things in the broader perspective of what's not moving right now because of Canada Post.
I think about the
What
old
is the
folks.
disruption, right? Like, people aren't getting their passports. 8,000 passports held up. Weddings. So I try to use these opportunities as like learning opportunities so students can see to the depth and reach that one company can have across Canada. Everything is on hold right now until they move, right? Like what can you do, or just to know that they're one piece of the puzzle to a broader system.
Crazy. Shout out to UPS for all your parcel needs.
I can return my package.
That's what I've been
didn't fit
using. UPS online. They get in there quicker. They're cheaper. Sorry, Canada Post, but it might not be using you no more.
Oh God! Don't be saying that though, because
we
we want Canada Post to support the Academy.
We do, but you got to do something. You got to do something for us.
It also speaks to like accessibility, I feel like, as well, like in terms of like, let's say what barriers there could be to accessing different services, like with reflecting on the Canada Post strike and like all of those things, like you said, the mail and reaching certain groups and people that you might not otherwise.
I think about the old folks that may be waiting for the check or like certain stuff that they're expecting, you know what I mean?
Payments.
Like that to me is like, how you not run like that is a Canadian thing that's how you get your mail. But
So many different like experiences that are on the news, and I find as students, like I was a student, I didn't watch the news. 5 o'clock it came on, my parents were always watching it, and you would hear stuff, but you didn't actually think about how it impacted the world. Elections, how that's impacting the world and how students can get involved in those opportunities. Strikes, all those kind of things are so important for students to start thinking about, and how that impacts broadly. Just in terms of the people you work for, the work that you do, the communities you give back to, kind of taking all of that into perspective and as learning opportunities to kind of support them as well.
Because different governments in power affect your business, your funding, they affect your zoning for your properties, they affect a lot of different things. If you're not hip on it, then you're going to be, blindsided.
Elections, how to vote, how old you need to be to vote, volunteering on voting panels, volunteering on any student who's interested in political science should certainly be connecting with their MLA, understanding how government works, understanding how to volunteer for elections and how you can be involved in those types of things.
Just like them school elections.
Piece of advice too, just for myself, something I did recently, just for like studies and health in general. I started listening to the radio on my way to work. Typically, I was blasting music and playing that and stuff like that. But like on my morning to work, I've been taking initiative to do that. And when I tell you guys, like, it makes an impact just on the way you look at the world, the way you feel more informed, and like, just, it's very...
Just don't get brainwashed, my G.
Don't worry. Critically think while you're doing that. That's the other piece of advice. Critically think, but it really does make you start thinking about certain things that are happening around you. Because honestly, that might have also sparked it. Two people were talking about like Canada Post strike, and I'm like, I must be under a rock. I need to start listening to some things to figure out those things. But
because sometimes the stuff it doesn't affect you, then it's like it's over your head.
Goes over that.
Well, and just like the whole like cost of living. Why are people striking? Not just for one specific company, but why do people strike? Are they part of a union? What is a union? If I'm looking for employment, should I be in a union? Should I not be in a union? What are fair wages? How do elections impact that? Kind of showing students that broader scope of what's outside of their school.
And then even thinking about like with the AI and with all that stuff, there was an article I read that a lot of the people are worried about their security of their job because with the advancement of technology, one of the major things I think why they're striking is for their job security. But it's like, if you're doing stuff like this and striking, and all these other organizations or companies like UPS and them, they're going to be taking the job. So then you guys are going to make less money. So then the government, we're paying taxes to pay them, because every year Canada Post loses money, if you guys didn't know that. So our money goes towards that organization. And if they can't figure out how to make it sustainable or to make money, our money's going to continue to go to that.
When I say, we just did a really great tour and experience with Dalhousie Faculty of Engineering, and students got to engage and interact with robots. I mean, they weren't like full-size human robots. I mean, I would have been scared of that. But just robots and how AI and robotics is the future. I mean, think about a grade 10 student right now. By the time they get to finish grade 12, perhaps 4 years of post-secondary. I mean, look at these Tesla trucks. I mean,
Optimus is going to be doing the work.
They look like iRobot from Will Smith. You know what I mean? Like lots of different things. So the future, there's so many opportunities in the future. But to your earlier point of like, what gap and how can you make a positive impact in your community? Things are going to happen. AI is going to happen. How can you use that to affect change positively for individuals? How can you support community or support the world with technology? Super cool things that, you know, just in those radio conversations or what's on the news or what's happening in the world around us, we try to pose those kind of curiosity questions to get students thinking about what it all means and how it's a piece of the puzzle and how they might be able to contribute to that.
Life lessons.
Are you familiar with the one-word checkout?
One word checkout.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
So
I
we're
was thinking
getting
this
close
was like
to
an
the
AI
time.
I know she said one word. Wait.
The AI one-word checkout.
Grassroots.
So we're just winding down, but before we get to the one-word checkout, she'll explain what the one-word checkout
Okay.
is.
Let me think
But I
about
also
it. Put
want
me
to
on the
ask
spot.
you, is there anything that we might have not have touched on that you might want to touch on? Because I don't want you to leave and then feel like, oh man, I should have said that.
No, that's okay. You guys didn't give me a script. That's okay. I didn't know what to expect.
I actually do have one last question.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Just about you. We talked a lot about prep as well, but I just want to know, like you said, you were like, correct me if I'm wrong, a dancer, you did some sport and things. How have like skills you've learned in those creative areas and those sports areas like helped you along your journey? Some things you've learned from that you've applied to the multiple different experiences, whether it's Scotiabank, I think you said that it was, or whether it's prep. Yeah, just some of those skills and just kind of speaking to the youth of like how you can take those and use those along your journey.
Yeah, I would say back in the day of basketball and dancing, what comes to mind for me is like teamwork and connection with other people. You can't play basketball or be on stage without working collectively as a unit and as a team. So I think some of the lessons that I learned are one, do extracurricular activities as a youth. We need those outlets. Get involved and do some sort of volunteer extracurricular activity or something to be well and have wellness for yourself outside of academics. But I would say teamwork for sure. And then how I bring that back into prep. I mean, I haven't danced or played basketball in a long time. But I think one thing that I've learned through working in different organizations is, and thinking about maybe who coached me or who were our choreographers, is like their leadership. So I've experienced really good leaders, and I've also experienced really bad leaders. And I think it's really positioned me to determine what kind of leader I want to be for my team. We just hit 10 staff members at Prep
Hey,
Academy.
congrats, that's tough.
Thank you. Thank you.
Love it.
It's so exciting. And so when I think about the type of leader that I want to be, I also want to be for my team, wherever they end up in the next 7 years, to be like, yeah, Ashley had a positive influence on me. I appreciated my time with Ashley.
Yeah.
You know, when I look back at my basketball coach, whether it was my Aunt Bon or Nellie or Rashawn yelling at me on the sidelines, or like, you know, dance teachers and stuff, it's like, yeah, you take bits and pieces of the people that you work with and the leaders that you've worked with, and then kind of mold that into a well-rounded individual of yourself, what you've liked and what you didn't like, and then blend that together.
Learning
so
from both.
I hope that, it's kind of part of the legacy that I want to have. I definitely want to have a legacy with students, but I want to have a legacy like with the people on my team. That's really important to me. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a burning question for
That's dope. I like it.
Yeah.
Perfect. So I'll explain the one word checkout.
Okay.
So basically what we do is as part of Feature Friday, also our meetings, we have a one word that we end it with. You can choose any word that you want that relates to how this podcast episode may have made you feel, how the week feels, like just how you're doing in general, and explain
steal
it
that.
a little bit more.
I'm gonna steal that for my team meetings. We have
Yeah.
weekly team meetings. I'm gonna use that one word checkout. I like that.
It's like a little checkout type of thing
Yeah.
that you do, and it's really it's really.
So you want me to go first?
Ooh, I mean, I already have
You
mine.
guys,
How do we
okay,
do it? How do we usually do
Yeah.
it?
I mean, we
I'll
kind
go first if
of
you
sometimes you
want.
put people on the
Okay,
spot.
I'll go first.
Sometimes
I got
you
a
put
good
me.
one.
Okay,
I got a
go
really
first.
good one. I got a
Oh,
really good
God.
one. So my one is preparation. So Prep Academy.
Capitalize
obviously.
PREP.
But preparation, I feel like we got to get prepared. We got to stay prepared, and we got to continue to put in the work that we're setting forth. I think preparation is key. And what's the 5 P's? Proper preparation prevents poor performance. So let's keep that.
There we go.
That's my word.
My word, I feel like it stuck out from the beginning of the conversation, and it was love. I feel like a lot of times, like the stuff that you were mentioning, like you're operating with love in the professional setting and a personal setting. Like I just feel like to have that support and people around you that aren't only just doing their job just for a paycheck or just doing it just like you're doing it out of love and wanting to see those people succeed. Even when you said you were like, screw the credit, screw this and that, like I want to leave a sustainable impact with prep. So I think that's really inspiring just for me as well, just on how I outlook with life, but moving with love.
Cool. That's great. Those are 2 really good ones. I would say mine would be growth. I think through the conversation we've talked about our growth personally, professionally, through school, student growth, staff growth on Prep's team. I think a message for anyone watching, especially young people, is like you're always going to want to continue to grow. I'm even asking myself to the point of I'm not going to be at Prep, forever. It's like, what's next for me? So continue to grow, continue to ask yourself once you've reached your next goal of like, okay, cool, now what's next?
Yeah, I like that. Because having the long game, not just thinking about now, thinking about where you're going to go and grow too.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Love, growth, prep.
Yeah.
Well, thank y'all for tuning in to this episode, our final episode for the season. So it was a pleasure hosting Ashley. And you already know what to do. You got to like, comment, subscribe, interact, do all of them good things. You know what I mean? Anything, share to your story. And
Yeah, so to speak on the growth for your one word, we grew a lot during this process of doing 12 episodes for the year. I love doing podcasting. I love asking good questions. I love becoming a better listener. Like I'm learning how to listen better and shut up a little bit. But it's like I find that's like one of the things that I've been growing and learning. And I just been enjoying the podcast, meeting people. A lot of the folks have been people I knew, like we knew each other from time. So it's like I'm getting to know you guys even more than what I already know you. So I find that's a beauty of it, and then getting to know some new folks that I never really knew. But yeah, I love podcasting, and I think I'm gonna stick around for another year at least, hosting with Aaliyah. And let's grind it out. 2024, 2025. Let's get it.
Yeah. And I love how you spoke to like the growth thing as well. I feel like I've learned a lot through this podcast. I've grown in my own abilities, like you said, the way to actively listen to what other people are saying. But I feel like the biggest thing that stood out with the podcast for me is the vulnerability of the guests that we've had on and the conversations that we have. So thank you all. Thank you. Thank you all to the guests. You guys are the reason that we're able to have these conversations and make these conversations happen. So just wanted to put my gratitude out there for that.
Yeah, and your comments and stuff like that, that's what gives us the fuel, like us being able to connect, because we ain't getting paid to be on the podcast. We're here to do it because we love to do it, and we're learning to love to do it because, when we first started, we were super nervous, but it's, you grow.
You guys are a beautiful house.
And
really good.
Prep.
Yeah.
Just keep prepping.
And you got a good podcast voice. I was thinking from the beginning, I'm like, okay.
Thank you.
Actually, shout out your podcast.
Yeah,
Let's plug that.
Give us this camera right here. Is it on, guys?
Yeah, give us a pitch.
Give us like an elevator pitch for your podcast.
Okay. Woo, here we go.
Collaboration is one of the other words I was going to have for my one word checker. Cool. But like collaborating with folks that are doing podcasts, it allows us to get more reach. Yeah. But also me and you got to do a collab with Trev Clothing and Prep one of these days soon. We do. Some merch, some cool merch.
We do. Okay, so check out Knowledge is Power, the Prep Academy podcast, where we bring you everything college and university preparation for African Nova Scotian high school students and their parents across the province. Getting access to information, knowledge from people with lived experience and people who look like you. It's just a way for us to expand our reach, share the love, and share the knowledge.
Bang, that was so tough.
Damn.
You see that commercial?
Hey,
do you want us to be can we sponsor you, or can you guys sponsor us? Can we do cross sponsorship?
Partnership.
As Lindell would say,
you rub my back. You scratch my back, I scratch your back.
I just like that too, just thinking about like that podcast connection, like working together and embracing each other and the different opportunities through podcasting. I think that was really that's really cool.
Yeah, because I think that's what you guys are going to end up building, and that's what we're building here. Is like we're going to build a community of guests, and then we're also going to continue to build a platform that gets people's what they've been up to, what they're doing, what they want to do, get their dreams out there. And I think it's a great to
collaborate.
Yeah, great to collaborate, and great for other folks to see what we're up to, what it takes to get to where you're at. You know what I mean? That some of those questions are going to give insights for the next Ashley Hill that's coming up maybe in grade 7 right now, but when she's, you know what I mean, done high school, maybe she'll be the CEO.
Yeah.
You know?
There you go. I love that.
Yeah. And we went back into great conversation, but don't forget, like, comment, follow, all of those good things. Thanks to ongoing collaboration with Shift Key Labs through this whole year, we were able to give away 2 e-gift cards. Thanks to their ongoing collaboration. How you can participate. Maybe, Trev, you can throw it down and tell them how to do that.
Oh, so how you participate, you just leave your one-word checkout, like, subscribe, comment, share, send us a DM how you felt about the conversation, because that's going to be another way for you to win. Is just, if you write us a paragraph of how you really genuinely felt about the conversation, what it added for you or what you learned, that's another way to win. And maybe we'll give 2x opportunity for you to win.
I might give you 10 for that one.
So yeah, that's dope. And shout out to UPS for all your shipping services. And,
I can't.
Canada Post, you're gonna have to
This
lower
is a
your rates.
long wrap up.
I know, right?
Okay, we done.
Making
We
it
done.
back
We
in
done. We done.
conversation.
We don't want to leave, but we gotta go.
Well, yeah, thank you all for tuning in, but a big shout out and a big thank you to guests like you and the rest of the guests that we've had this past year and the future guests that we hope to have. I've learned so much through you guys and the vulnerability that you have in this space. It helps us learn, and it also helps the people watching learn, and it inspires the next generation of people. So
Thank you. Thank you so much.
thank you. See y'all not next year. See y'all next time.
Yeah.
Next time. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening to our Feature Friday podcast. And just wanted to make sure that you guys are connected on all platforms. So wherever you're tuning in, maybe even leave us a 5-star review.
If you're watching on YouTube, hit like and subscribe.
And on our social medias as well, you can follow us at ANS Lab or at African Nova Scotian Youth Lab as well on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We got the whole mumble jumble. It'll be in our link tree in our bio.
Don't forget to enter our contest that we have in each episode.
And the way to enter that contest will be sprinkled throughout our episodes, so make sure that you're listening and paying attention.
Each episode may be different, but comment below wherever you are.
And if you don't use social media and you're one of those people, you can even reach out to us by email at anslab@onenorthend.com.
The details are in the episode description.
And last but not least, we want to make sure that we get you guys connected to our resource, our network of resources, the Grapevine newsletters. So to get subscribed, you can check the link in our bio and subscribe yourself. But if you're not that tech savvy, you can also email us at anslab@onenorthend.com and we can get you hooked up.
We'll see you on the next episode.
See you next month.
Let's get it.
Feature Friday.
What's your favorite thing about Fridays?
That's a good question.
The features.